volunteers, so she's come along just to keep me on the straight and narrow. So who are we? Well, we're a group of people who are interested in the river. There are some swimmers, there's some paddleboarders, there's people who just walk up and down the river that think that the River Thames, Jubilee River, running through the borough is an important resource. So really what we want to try and do is revitalise the river, inspire people to take a pride in the river, and then build relationships with companies like, dare I say, Thames Water, the Environmental Agency, other community groups that are interested in the River Thames, because we realise just trying to clean up our stretch is, you know, a sort of a task that we could never do. We need people upstream and downstream to be on the same page. So our sort of the remit that we set ourselves is just above Bolter's Lock, just where the Jubilee River leaves the Thames, and then down at Black Pots 8 where it comes back in. So anywhere along that stretch is what we sort of class as our stretch of the river. And there are other community groups on the river, and they sort of work out from there. So as part of this sort of revitalisation and inspiring people is we're currently doing testing. We test for pathogens, which is probably most of you know as E. coli, but also intestinal enterococci, which is referred to as IE. We do that every week. We test it just above Bolter's Lock. We did test it at the sort of Marsh Lane area of Jubilee River, and we also test at Barry Avenue by the tea shop. We suspended testing at Marsh Lane temporarily because we've moved testing down to where the Victorian Baths used to be, because there is a thought of, well, could that be turned into a bathing water site? I think it's a long process, but we need to collect data before we can even take that forward. So at the moment, we've still got 3 test sites, but we've suspended the Jubilee River site. That's on pathogens. We also look at biodiversity. We've already mentioned Claire Taylor with regard to the bats, but she's also into riverfly testing. And with Claire, we do riverfly testing at Boveney Ditch, which is if you're going up to Boveney Lock, you've got the concrete bridge and then the little wooden bridge which goes on the tarmac track. We do the testing just there. It's supposed to be monthly, and there is a formula that you can put different species into a formula, and you can come up with a grading of how ecologically good that river is. Obviously, it's the main outfall for Slough sewage treatment works, which has its own problems. But also, you can't test if it's just rained, if the river's running faster, and what have you. So, although we try and do it every month at a specific time, we can't always do it. And also, you try and do it during, I think it's from about April through to October. So you test on that.
So how ecologically sound is the? Not
very. Yeah, it's very. You know, there have been some times when we've scored 0 and I think if you score over 10, it's moving towards an ecologically good river. And I think once we got about 5, so it's not particularly good. I think the problem is the life starts to build up, the river fly starts to build, then we may get a heavy downpour of rain, suddenly we get a semi-treated effluent coming down the stream, and suddenly it sets you back, and then you've got to start all over again.
And for people with kids, that's where kids go and swim. So it's kind of worth not knowing that is the outflow. And
well, I think it's important to understand that from Bolter's Lock to where we test at Black Pots 8, there are, I think it's 6 sewage treatment plants discharged into the river along that stretch. So if you know the stretch of river above Bovey Lock, up to Braylock, you've got Bray Marina. Just by Bray Marina, alongside Bray Lake, there's a river that comes out called the Cut. Maidenhead Sewage Treatment Works, Bracknell Sewage Treatment Works, Coppice Row, Whitewatham, and one other, I think, discharge their treated effluent into that river, but also there are times when they discharge untreated effluent. So, and we have seen at Bolter's Lock much better quality than down in Windsor. So, you know, it's a lot of people don't actually understand that. The other thing we test for are chemicals. So we're testing for nitrates, phosphates. We do a pH test now, and we also do a turbidity test. And that's really to just monitor, you know, agricultural runoff, industrial runoff, that sort of thing. But mainly it's going to be agricultural runoff from certainly the stretch from Bovey down. So that's what we're testing for. And we log those. We've been supported by Surfers Against Sewage for the pathogen treatment. So we send that off to a lab. The problem is it takes 3 days to do the test. So you've got 1 day in transport, 3 days to do the test, 1 day for the test results to come back. So you're always about a week out of sync with the readings coming back. But they're logging it onto their citizens science database. And anyone can go on that database, look at a map of the UK, pick a spot where they've got a testing thing, and you can see what the citizen scientists are doing. And they're using this as information to go to the government and start lobbying the government for how they classify bathing waters. Because the big thing at the moment is it's bathers, whereas what we want is river users. So it could be someone who paddle boards, it could be someone who paddles in the river, it could be a rower. It's everyone that uses the river, not just one particular section. So it would broaden the usage of the river. In addition to all this, we do litter picking, and there is a lot of litter out there. We do it on the bank, and we do it on the river. One of our members, she goes out paddleboarding most mornings from Black Pots, and this is a typical haul. There's, you know, and quite often it's a lot more than that. So we're trying to. She's managed to get the EA to put bags out so that she can then deposit all this stuff for the EA. And when we do a litter pick, we get the black plastic bags. We tell them where we've left them by a bin, and then they come and pick them up. But it's something that we try and do regularly. So if you ever want to join us, then you're most free to do so. You can find out what's going on our Facebook page, and we are in the process of building a website. So we're raising awareness. We're building a team. So we try and meet once a month down here on usually the second Monday of the month. Again, it will be on our Facebook page, and anyone's welcome to come along and what have you. We have done some campaigning. We went up to London for the March for Clean Water back in March, I think it was. We held a paddle out protest that was organised by Surfers Against Sewage. It was nationwide, and we had quite a few people down in the River Thames. And we're encouraging river users. You know, there is a lot of there's a lot in the press about high E. coli, rivers filthy, this sort of thing. And I think you've got to walk this very delicate line of trying to tell a story or tell what's going on without frightening people that you've got some toxic stream running through your town. Yeah, there's a lot that needs to be done to clean up the river, make it more biodiverse, make it usable for people, but not at the point of actually putting people off completely and thinking, well, there's nothing I can do about this. So, and we're joining with some national bodies. As I said, Surfers Against Sewage have been very good to us with regard to grants and support and what have you. Thames 21 as well, they've given us a lot of advice. They supported us with some of the test equipment for the chemical analysis. Freshwater Watch, again, when we started off, we were just doing chemical analysis and they gave us some test kits. And we're linked up with a number of like-minded community groups up and downstream of the river. So there's a group at Cookham, there's Little Marlow, there's a group, Marlow and Henley, Fulham Reach Rowing Club down on the Thames. So we're building up a network along the river so that we can actually see what's happening and what's going on. So this just summarises what we're doing, and you can help with any of these. You can come down, you can come to one of our meetings, you can come down and you can get involved in any of these, or you can think about something that you want to do that you think may be of a benefit to this important resource that runs through our borough. And I think Susie has already mentioned it, but there's, at the green screen, we've got Rave on the Avon, which was a film about how important the River Avon was to the communities that it flowed through. So, there we go. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Really good.
Just adding the support that the wild groups give to the River Watch initiative, and that the wild groups, including Wild Windsor, do the freshwater watch twice annual testing for nitrates and phosphates. Just it's a small contribution compared with what you are doing, but it's actually extremely important. We've been feeding that information not only to Freshwater Watch but the borough, who've asked us to test.
Any other questions?
No, keep up the good work. Cheer! Yay! Cheers, mate. Well done, Keith. That was really interesting, actually.